Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of 5 Facts. Today we're going to be talking about the 2000 hit Final Destination. It's a film directed by James Wong, and it's made it into 5 whole parts by this point. I've always thought of this movie as death within a Rector set or maybe a Rube Goldberg machine. It's something where you get to see a lot of creative deaths, a lot of chain reactions leading to really fun deaths in this particular series. It's interesting because it doesn't really have a primary antagonist that's in a physical form. It's just these people trying to survive this unrelenting force of death. We'll mostly be talking about part 1 for this. There will be a few things that are canon throughout the whole series, and there will be a lot of spoilers for part 1, so if you want to avoid that, stop it now. Otherwise, here are the facts. Fact number 1. The plane crash was heavily influenced by TWA Flight 800. In July of 1996, TWA Flight 800 exploded over the Atlantic off of Long Island. On board was a French club as well as many families. Originally, it was thought to have been a bomb, then a surface-to-air missile, but was ultimately ruled an accident due to mechanical failure. The FBI investigation is still open on this one. I was only 9 years old when this happened, and I still remember the news reports for it because it was such a jarring thing. Fact number 2. Many of the characters are named after classic horror movie actors and directors. 2 of them come from the Wolfman as their characters named Chaney and Wagner after Lon Chaney and director George Wagner. Browning, famous for directing the first Dracula movie, Todd Browning. Larry Marnow, after F.W. Marnow, the director of the very first vampire film, Nosferatu. Also, Agent Schreck is named after Max Schreck, who is the actor who played Nosferatu. Blake Dreyer, Carl Theodor Dreyer, directed a vampire movie in 1932 as well. The director of Dirty Harry, Don Siegel, has a character named Howard Siegel after him in this movie. Billy Hitchcock, of course, is after Alfred Hitchcock, and this one's a little bit more blatant because there are many times where you see on the back of his hockey jersey, I believe it's hockey, he's got Hitchcock right across the back. Which this is very much, it's not a Hitchcock-style movie in suspense, but you can tell there's some elements of style from Hitchcock. Fact number 3. There's a very specific reason why so many John Denver tracks are part of this soundtrack. Most people don't think of John Denver when they think of horror. The reason why this was picked is that 3 years prior to the movie, John Denver was killed in a plane crash. I personally would have diversified the soundtrack a little bit. I would have added some Leonard Skinner. I don't know if Aaliyah was dead at the time. Maybe a little bit of Buddy Holly or someone like that, too. I'm sure there's been some other musicians killed in plane crashes. I'm sure the rights are expensive, though, so they can't get all of them. There's even a part where, after the sign breaks, that you hear somebody singing a John Denver song in French. So they keep the whole meme running the whole time. Fact number 4. In all of the Final Destination movies, not just this one, there are detailed foreshadowing elements. It doesn't matter which of the Final Destination movies you watch, each foreshadow their character deaths. Things like Terry standing in front of an advertisement for a bus before she gets struck by it later. Or Todd mentioning that he would rather hang himself through emotion than change seats with these girls. Yet he ultimately does. There's a huge, expansive list here. It's not just that they have a guillotine next to somebody's name in the credits, or a hanging skeleton at different parts. It is all over this movie. I've included a link below that actually details this through all 5 of the movies. Fact number 5. Death as an entity is more subtle in this movie than originally planned. Originally, Death was supposed to be a much more prominent being in this movie, one that covered its tracks well, a very supernatural being that sometimes came into a physical manifestation. You do see in Todd's death in the bathroom where there's some black in the mirror and some shadows at various parts, sometimes in a rearview mirror, sometimes just out of the corner of somebody's eye, or sometimes in the water, but you never see the physical humanoid embodiment of death. Some thought that Tony Todd's character, especially because he's been in all 5 of the Final Destination movies, is sort of the harbinger type, the manifestation of death. I'm not sure how well that holds up, but I absolutely love Tony Todd's performance in this. Even if it's only a couple minutes per movie, it's still awesome, and I'm going to be a fanboy of his forever. Final Destination is a film that lives on brutality and unflinching horror. While characters might make it through the movie, they will never cheat death forever. There's something both interesting and futile about a movie that you know will kill off every single character it introduces. In some ways it can kill the tension since the movie's only teasing you with close calls for inevitable death. On the other hand, it allows you to simply sit back and enjoy the carnage. And that's really what these movies are about. Creative deaths in different ways that you haven't thought of or seen before in the absolute most brutal fashion. And there's definitely an audience for that. Maybe it's a cathartic release. Maybe it's just something that we're all a little bit messed up and we kind of enjoy this sort of thing. It's definitely not the most critically loved movie series of all time, but it's very successful. That's why they ended up making 5 of them. The elaborate gorefest is a little more schlocky than movies like Saw, making grandiose shows of death as well as jarring, fast, violent ones. Final Destination manages to find itself basking in the futility of its own character's demise. While it seems that each of these films has an alternative ending where people fully survive, either through sacrifice or, in the case of this one, Devon Sawa's character sacrificing himself, but also getting Claire pregnant and kind of like creating life. It's a loophole in one of the things that Tony Todd said about creating life and death. And originally, that was an idea that they could make it so that she could survive this one. And ultimately, she does survive this one, but it's revealed in the second movie that he was killed by a falling brick, and she dies in a very violent hospital explosion later. So, as far as the canon goes, I'm pretty sure nobody has survived in the 5 movies that have gone so far. I'm kind of glad that it actually goes this way. It's rare to see a movie that can go the whole way and stick to its rules for this far. You might see like a Final Destination 6 where somebody figures it out, but I feel like it's a good thing that they've stuck with this canon and haven't bent the rules too terribly much. I haven't heard if there is going to be a Final Destination 6. It seems like they wrapped it up with Final Destination 5 in a really cool way that I won't spoil. But it's a very interesting series more than it is a great movie. It's not on the level of Rosemary's Baby or anything like that. It's a dumb popcorn fun showing us something new. And even if it's become derivative after 5 movies, there's still things to enjoy in each one of them. Tell me about your favorite deaths from the series, not just the first one, and any ideas you have that might help someone survive the overall like Final Destination thing. How would they cheat death? Also, consider hitting up our Patreon. Starting at $2 per month, you get access to our bonus podcast, which is amazing. $5 a month, we start mailing you pins every 6 months, as well as having access to everything else, including our game servers like Minecraft and various other ones that we've set up for streaming. Thank you all for watching. I hope you have an excellent week, and I will see you soon.